How's it going?
Very good.
Okay, how do I sound?
You sound good.
Good, considering we're all about to die.
On this episode of the John 1911 podcast, the Commie cough, Creek lobsters, the dope card versus gun card debate, and return of the Meth King.
Okay, good afternoon, everybody. This is Marky Freeze, and this is episode 165 of the John 1911 coronavirus podcast. I just want to say that for future generations when they, the archaeologists. And so how's your day going so far?
Not bad.
Not bad. Yeah, we've already actually had a small meeting over at a Shooter Supply in Loveland, Ohio.
Yeah, I mean, my day started at 2:30 this morning.
Yeah, well, I slept in today till about 8 o'clock. So and, you know what? you texted me at what, 5 or 6, and you're like, "Are you up?" And I was like, 2 hours later, I'm up.
Well, I never know.
Yeah.
I mean, you could be up, you may not be up. It just depends on your, how your crazy day is going.
Well, I mean, I'm not a like a sparkly vampire like you are. Since I retired, I pretty much.
Do I have to be a sparkly vampire? Why can't
you know what? You made me be the sparkly vampire back when I was working. So fuck you, bend over. It's your turn.
Damn, that sucks.
So we'll go ahead. Let's get this going. So reason we met today over at Shooter Supply is you picked up your 9mm 1911.
I did.
What did you think of it so far?
I like it. I mean, obviously, I haven't, shot it or anything yet, but, it feels good.
Yeah.
The controls on it are real positive.
Yeah, they are. It has ambi safety, and I thought the left-handed safety was probably a little troublesome for on your right hand, So you may want to shrink that down. I know your hands are kind of bigger than mine. So
here's the crazy thing on the ambi safety. So when you're operating the left-hand side with the thumb, that's fine.
That click is you flipping the gun, right?
Yes.
Okay.
But the right-hand safety is a little long, and it kind of interferes with my finger. But I don't know. I have to see if it's an issue when I shoot the gun.
Yeah.
So.
But I imagine you'll be doing a fair amount of fluffing and buffing and whatever on that gun. Anyway,
oh yeah. So. I mean, I'm going to rip the grips off of it. I'll probably replace the slide stop. Those are the two pretty much guaranteed things I'm going to do with it.
Yeah, it doesn't have the slide stop with the shelf that I prefer, and I don't know what you prefer, but
the slide stop on it's pretty much A1, 1911 A1 GI, and it's okay. But I don't need like a gas pedal on it, but I do kind of like a little bit more of a shelf than what is, what's on it.
Yeah, that's a valid upgrade. And back in the day, a lot of the custom shops used to put, basically a GI slide stop. But I noticed, like my Ed Browns, my old work guns, they have the kind of a GI style slide stop, a little bit bigger, but still basically GI. Where the 9mm has that shelf, and I immediately realized, I'm like, man, this shelf is the way to go. So.
Well, it's like on my SIG, it's like 90% GI, but it's got like a little bit of a shelf on it. It's bumped out a little bit more than a standard GI slide stop, and that's what I like.
SIG makes nice 1911s apparently. So
yeah. So
this does not have a feed ramp in it, does it? It doesn't have a feed ramp barrel, does it?
I don't believe so. I haven't even really looked at it enough to tell. Hold on a second. Let
Because
me.
I was looking at that Kimber 10 millimeter over there, and it did have the ramped barrel, which isn't a surprise because you need the support. But I think that gun you have is like my Ed Brown, where it does not have a ramped barrel.
No, it does not have a ramped barrel. I'm looking at it right now.
So, okay.
Although the frame's polished. I mean, it's really nice. But
Well, you
no.
know, I mean, it seems like they've tried. The reason I'm personally happy to see them have a ramped barrel, because, you know, even if we're not trying to compare these two guns, realistically we will be, and having a ramped versus non-ramped barrel would be such a change that I don't know if it'd be really a fair comparison. You know what I mean? Not fair, but not similar enough.
Yeah.
You know.
Just with first appearances, it's got a full-length guide rod. I'll probably change that out.
Yeah. Yank that out.
What's that?
Yank that out.
Yeah, I'll yank that out and put a GI plug in it. But and you know, I'm going to reserve judgment on this right now. But the beaver tail safety on it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that may have to get changed out too.
Really?
Well, I'll tell you what. Okay, so like on your Ed Brown, at the bottom of the beaver tail, it's got the bump out.
Yeah, the memory bump, they call it.
Yeah. This kind of has one, but when you hold it in your hand, I don't know. Again, I haven't shot.
Is it not activating 100% in your hand?
You know what? I need to run the gun and play with it.
Yeah.
But I could see
you may be able to address that with the with the leaf spring too. You can adjust that.
That's true. But like I said, I've got to run it to see. I'm just looking at it and talking about potentials.
Yeah, I think my Ed Brown, if I recall, it's been so long since I've really kind of been deep into modifying 1911s. I think the Ed Brown grip safety requires a frame cut modification. And if I recall, if that's true and you don't want to have to do all that, I believe Wilson, at least they used to sell a upgraded beaver tail type safety that would drop into a GI frame. And so you didn't have to modify the frame. And the only reason I know that is I sent a bunch of those to some special forces guys in Iraq once because they had old military guns and they were not in a position to be modifying anything. So but they were hurting. So I was like, you know, Wilson took care of it. So
well,
that could be neat.
I believe Ed Brown's hardcore line of parts are pretty much drop in too. So
they're dropping, you know, in terms of maybe how they interface, but I do not believe that the frame is the rear of that frame on an Ed Brown is GI. I believe they've relieved that. I could be wrong. I could be.
Yeah, could be. I don't know. It's something to look into if I decide to change it out. Like I said, again, I'm just looking at the gun. I haven't actually fired it yet. So
you're gonna put a magwell on the gun?
Maybe.
Which means new mainspring housing.
Yeah, I'm not worried about that. That's nothing. I'm just, right now, I'm just looking at the gun without firing it, the fit and the feel of saying, okay, the slide stop definitely needs to be changed out. The ambi safety, the right-hand side may need to be modified a little. I can do that myself.
Yeah.
I'll definitely get rid of the full-length guide rod because I'm not a fan of full-length guide rods. In the grips, I don't like the rubber grips that are on it, so
I hate those grips.
Yeah, so I'll probably put a set of G10s or something like that on it. You know, I like them. They're real aggressive, you know, and they feel good in the hand. So, you know,
Oh, sure.
I mean, you know, those are the things that I know is going to happen right off the bat. Anything over and above that, I'll just have to see once I start running it. You know, because those
Sure.
are basic modifications that I like on any 1911 that I have. You know.
Sure. I mean, that goes absolutely. So, well, I guess we better get, and we're done with the fun stuff. So I guess we better get into the meat and potatoes of the podcast. Did you see? I'm sure you have. Did you see the video of Joe Biden mouthing off to the union worker in Michigan about guns?
Oh my God. I mean, okay, so way to like disenfranchise yourself from the I think they were auto workers, but you know, way to disenfranchise yourself from union auto workers in Detroit, Michigan. It's like,
You
dude,
know, that's
you're,
always been a
you're full of
huge problem with. Yeah,
shit. Yeah, it's like, dude, come
that's
on.
always been a huge problem with the UAW and their workers. And this, this goes into, like, there's a Supreme Court decision called Janus that basically says public, if you have a job, well, public employees, but the right to work movement, because,
Yeah.
part of the problem is, you know, these unions, like I just used the UAW as an example. The UAW, on paper, theoretically, I should not have a problem with unions. If unions are there to represent their members, but what ultimately ends up happening is the people that end up running these unions end up basically pseudo-communists, and they start staking out positions and supporting causes that are more lefty and have nothing to do with being a UAW worker. And the UAW worker doesn't really have a choice. Be like, wait a minute,
Yeah.
asshole. I'm here for my fucking job and for for union wages and like safety and, workman's comp and like grievance, things and like, all this other stuff. And it's like, why are you staking out a position on healthcare, or why are you staking out a position on guns or abortion? It's like, what the fuck? And, Joe Biden is so out of touch because showing up, I mean, that guy obviously was, a pro-gun guy, but there was so much fucked up. Like, Joe called it an AR-14. I don't care. That's kind of pedantic. But this, like, Joe's making this argument like, well, can you own a machine gun? And he's like, no, I'm not going to take your guns away. I'm going to take away your AR-14s. And it's like, no, you're not. And he's like, well, can you own a machine gun? And the UAW worker's like, no. And it's like, well, I'm going to take away AR-14s. And it's like, well, number one, you can own a machine gun. And number two, it's like an AR-15 or 14 is not a machine gun. And like, here's the thing, like just this whole argument, in 86, they passed the Hughes Amendment. And the whole idea that we're going to, okay, no more machine guns. Things are grandfathered in. Well, the problem is when you did that, now the ARs and the semi-automatic sporting rifles now become the bad gun. Now, let's say, like, okay, you don't need an AR-15, and they take the AR-15s away. After that, it'll be magazine capacity, and after that, it'll be handguns, because most people in America are killed by handguns.
Yes.
It's like, if the argument is if the Second Amendment for the use of a militia, the Second Amendment, the right of the people shall not be infringed, to have guns. Well, the Army and the Marine Corps will tell you this. Every Marine is a rifleman, not a handgunman.
Yeah.
So you can make if you want to go by those standards, I'm not advocating this, and I hate to use the word slippery slope, but this is actually, if you want to do that, if you take away these long guns, you're not going to defend your country with handguns.
No.
It's like, hey, everybody, get your 357 Magnums out and your Glocks, because, the tyrant government is coming. Ask the people in Syria how that fucking went.
Yeah.
We were dropping off handguns in Syria,
Yeah.
So,
Joe's arguing with this guy, and And he's like, I didn't say I'm going to take away your guns. And it's just like, you see, and this is why you're going to lose every fucking debate to Trump if you get the nomination. Because yeah, you did. And it's on video. I can easily pull up 3 different videos where you talk about taking guns away from everyone.
But dude, in that very video, Joe Biden says we are going to take away your AR-14.
Yes,
he said it to the guy's face.
Yeah,
he's like, I support the Second Amendment. We're going to take away your AR-14s. It's like, what the fuck? I mean, it's like that is such a like what do you call it? What's the word? You hate the word. FUD argument from like 1988 that has been disproven. And, Joe Biden is so out of touch. He thinks he can make these FUD arguments, like, hey, just get a shotgun and go out on the porch and shoot it up in the air and scare off the bad guys. He says this shit because Joe Biden hasn't had a constructive thought about anything since probably 1988.
Yeah.
Dude, did you hear what came out? Did you hear what Donna Brazile said on TV yesterday?
No.
So Donna Brazile comes out. Do you know who Donna Brazile is?
I do. Yes.
For the listener, she's the former chairman of the Democrat National Committee. She's pretty well liked. Like, people on both sides of the aisle like Donna Brazile. If you are a Fox News watcher, you will see her on Fox News now. And she's I mean, I can't go into it, but she's a likable person. She really is. But she's a Democrat, and she's the one notoriously that got in trouble for giving the questions for the debates to Hillary Clinton ahead of time, and I got caught. That was Donna Brazile. Well, she comes out and she's trying to defend Joe Biden, and she comes out and she goes, yeah, in the White House when Joe Biden was vice president in those first couple weeks, I was visiting the White House, and Joe sat me down, and he looked at me and he said, can we have a black on black conversation? And it's just like, what the fuck?
She's telling me, is this real?
This is real.
Oh my God.
Real. And she's telling this story, trying to defend him. Like, you remember how, remember Bill Clinton used to walk around. So again, for the listener today who voted for, if you're a young person, and you voted for Barack Obama. And, Barack Obama was kind of, look, there's some really good things about Barack Obama. There really are. And, and a small one, and not a small one, is the fact he was a black man. And, a lot of people were able to vote for a black man. A black man was able to become president. It was important for the country. It's, it will always be important. And, it kind of helps dispel a lot of the myths about white privilege in America and all that. And, it's funny. But anyway, before Barack Obama was president, for, I don't know, 10 years, see, 2000, until about 10 years, or really for about 16 years, because they said this when Bill Clinton was president, through his presidency, and then during George Bush's presidency, Bill Clinton walked around, and the media even said this. Black people said this. The media said it. Bill Clinton said it. I'm the first black president. And they used to say goofy shit like that. And, apparently Joe Biden was saying that shit when Barack Obama was in the White House. And it's like, what in the fuck? I mean, this man is going to, look, I don't know. Something could happen. Trump could get the coronavirus. They could, the archaeologists could find Trump surrounded by, Playboy playmates and I don't know, and mortgages to high-rise buildings. I don't know what they would dig up, but you know what I mean? We don't know what the future holds. But if you were to do a straight line projection, Donald Trump is going to knock Joe Biden out like Mike Tyson when he was 19. Yeah. Just boom, 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 out, over.
Yeah.
It's just going to be brutal.
Yeah, it's going to be one of those, 30-second knockout type things.
Yeah. So can we have a black on black conversation? And she told, like, here's the thing. Obviously, she sat on this story. I mean, because it was like, here's the thing. In 2008, 2009, that would not have been a good story to tell. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
I mean, that would not have been a black on black conversation. But she kept it quiet. You know, now she's trying to retell the story in her own mind somehow to defend Joe, like, because he says crazy shit and like he's always said crazy shit. And so, but he comes from the, but it's,
See, I don't know how much that helps him though.
yeah, I think they're all whistling past the graveyard here on Joe Biden. I think the emperor doesn't have any clothes. It is not a good thing. Well, you know what? But I'm going to get off that because everyone knows all this stuff. Do you realize that you made a prediction about a year or two ago and it's come true? You predicted it. You don't even know what I'm talking about because we did not do a pre-show and talk about it in any rundowns. So,
okay, now I mean,
do you remember? I'm going to give you a hint. Do you remember ever taking a position on legalizing marijuana and owning guns?
Oh yeah, oh hell yeah.
What was that position?
Well, basically, it was when I guess it was around the time Colorado passed their medical marijuana thing, and and my whole thing was, all these pot fiends out there that own guns that want a dope card are going to lose their right to own guns, and it's not a. And I've had a lot of people come back and say, "Oh, it's a backdoor way of gun control," and it's like, no, it's not. It's just you chose dope over your right to own a firearm. And
well, until the federal government legalizes pot, it's illegal. And you can do what you want, but check this out. So today, when you went to Shooter Supply and you picked up your 9mm Rock Island, whatever that thing is.
Yeah.
And you filled out the 4473.
Yeah.
What did the don't say his name, but what did the gun store owner do then at that point? What did he ask from you?
Oh, I mean, he took my concealed carry permit and looked at that.
He took your concealed carry permit and he looked at your 4473. And then what did he do?
Oh, fuck, I don't know.
He handed you your gun and said,
"Oh yeah,
good."
Oh yeah." But I mean, yeah, I mean, but I'm the last three low AR lowers I bought from a different place, mind you. They did the same thing.
That's the point. In Ohio, they have a rule where if you have a gun permit from past a certain date, and you fill out 4473, you fill out all the paperwork, you hand the gun dealer your gun permit.
Yeah.
And they don't have to call in the next check. You're automatically approved.
Yes.
You can just walk out with your gun.
Correct.
ATF has told the state of Michigan that since you guys are going to approve pot, you are no longer allowed to do automatic, no backgrounds on mixed checks for CCW holders.
Well, when's that going to hit?
Apparently it's imminent.
Yeah.
I don't know about Ohio, but my point is, you predicted this.
But
you predicted that if these assholes get these fucking dope cards, it's going to make it real hard to own guns.
Yeah,
and it's like,
no, I mean that's not really me being Nostradamus or anything. I mean that's pretty much common sense. But if they've said that to Michigan since Ohio passed the medical dope thing last year, I think it was last year, when is that going to trickle down to us?
I don't know. Did they pass the dope thing in Ohio?
Yes. Yeah. I mean,
I don't know. I'm not like big into the dope game. So since I'm retired, I don't know. I don't even know what the real dopers, like, they would keep me up on it. So I don't even know.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but here's the thing. You know what? If that's true and they have dope cards for Ohio, I would expect, I'd be reasonable to expect that, well, I guess they're going to call Ohio and say, you're going to have to start calling in the NICS checks.
Well,
thank you, dopers.
Yeah.
But here's the deal. If you have a dope card and you fill out a 4473, there's a question on there. It says, "Are you a user of illegal drugs?"
Yes.
And under federal code, marijuana is illegal. If you check yes, you're automatically declined. The gun dealer has to decline you. If you check no and have a marijuana card, you have now lied on a federal form
And that's
committed probably a felony.
That's a I guess, I don't know, a high end felony, I guess it would be.
So you'll have a weapon under disability, and you'll have some kind of
lying on a federal form.
Yeah, lying on a there'll be one. I'm sure there'll be a charge for lying because you could lie on a federal form at the post office, but I'm sure there'll be some kind of extra charge. I wouldn't know what it would be. Like you lied to get a gun. Like I don't know what I used to like. Typically, you would think a straw purchase, but I guarantee you, there's a charge there where it's like you did something and got a gun because it's a gun specification, and they will railroad the dog shit out of you.
Yeah.
And wait until the federal government gets access to your dope card information. Because if you want to have a national instant NICS check, I guarantee you somebody in Washington, D.C. right now is trying to figure out a way to connect the FBI NICS computers to your dope card computer in your state.
Yep.
And you better watch the fuck out.
Well, yeah, because, they may not have it now, but it may take a couple of years, but say 3-4 years down the road when they do have access to this, then they're going to start cross-referencing everything. And everyone that has bought a firearm with a dope card and they lied on the form, because if they tell the truth on the form, they're going to get declined. But if you lie on the form, it may take a few years to catch up, but then it's going to be like, round them up, boys.
Well, check this out. Like, think about California. California issues dope cards, and they're very anti, like federal government. They can do whatever they want. California, if we lived in California, hypothetically, if I lived in California and I had a dope card, and I had some kind of California-approved gun, and they were like, okay, you can own this California-approved 1911, Marky. At what point does the California Department of Dope cross-reference their computer with the California Department of your limited Second Amendment rights, and they go, oh, under federal law, we're gonna take your fucking guns away?
Yeah.
Because I seriously, I don't know why. I'm surprised they haven't done it yet in California.
Well, I mean, maybe they have.
Maybe they have. I don't know.
I mean, maybe they have. I don't really follow California that closely, but with their crazy ass laws.
It's. Speaking of like crazy ass gun laws, so like red flag laws. They've already had some abuses of red flag laws in some places.
Yes.
So, okay, the gun owners of America, you know who they are, right?
Oh, yeah.
They're the real anti-gun control activists, and not the NRA. Dude, Chuck Schumer got out there before the U.S. Supreme Court, and remember, like last week, he made some comment like, Justice Kavanaugh, Justice Gorsuch, you will reap the wind. Like it was this really oblique threat.
Yes.
Well, I guess GOA came out and they're like, yeah, we're going to be filing a red flag order against Chuck Schumer in New York because apparently he's making public threats.
Oh, dude, that is so awesome.
Yeah, I'm sure it'll go nowhere and whatever. But I just was like, that is so awesome.
I love it.
I thought that was great. It's just like, yeah, this fucking asshole. So I just thought that was really cool. So, hey, I have some projects on the back burner. I guess I haven't told you. We are getting a new stud for the 300 PRC barrel, so I can start shooting that again.
Yeah.
And hopefully soon I'll be getting the 7.5 Swiss barrel back from the machine shop to have it threaded, because
Yeah.
I know that Officer Mike and Doc they had projects ahead of me, and I know Mike's got his. Well, as a matter of fact, on the website, that Glock 45 with the comp and the red dot on it, that's
Yeah.
Officer Mike's gun, and that gun was in front of but that gun was 2 projects in front of my gun for metalwork, so machine work.
Gotcha.
So I know that I'm either next in line or second to next in line. So hopefully we'll get all that, because you notice I haven't been shooting a lot of Blaser rifles lately, and it's just like, oh shit.
Yeah.
So
Well, that's good news anyway.
Anything else? I mean, is there anything else we have to cover or worth discussing in the news, or anything going on with you? Or
No, I mean, not really. I mean, everything's, it's just been crazy between, sickness and weather and, everyone's been sick and the weather's, it's been rainy. I guess what I saw yesterday, 2 mosquitoes.
you're the second person to tell me that.
And that tells me we did not get a hard freeze this winter. And I'm telling you, I'm seeing mosquitoes in March. That's telling me we're going to have a bad year with bugs.
Yeah, you know what? I think you're right. I mean, we've had a wet winter, and we've had some cold. But
not a hard.
We haven't had.
You need a good hard freeze for like 2, 3, 4 weeks to really kill.
Yeah, we haven't had that,
and we haven't had that.
We haven't even been below 0, have we? Did we go below 0 at all this year?
If we did, it was maybe a day or 2. I don't.
Maybe overnight or something.
Yeah, at night or something, it might have dropped down to 0. But other than that, I don't really think we did. It's just been.
I'll tell you what. Where I used to work, their big problem. I mean, there was always mosquitoes and all that, but their big problem they always had out there was spiders. Like it was crazy. Like for some reason, their rifle range was crawling with spiders. Like it used to, like occasionally you'd have a guy like a precision rifle class, he'd be all proned out shooting something. All of a sudden you'd start hearing, because the one big difference between a sniper and a person who's a really good rifle shooter is fieldcraft. And the other big difference between a sniper and a person who's a really big shooter is what I would call the Carlos Hathcock ability to lay there while a snake crawls across your face.
Yeah.
Why are you fucking jumping around? Fucking like big giant wolf spiders, like big monster hairy ones.
Well, I'll tell you what. I put a chemical down on my yard that kills spiders, ticks, fleas, because you walk off my back deck, you're 20 yards from my wood line, and I have a bad problem. Well, if I don't treat, I have a bad problem with spiders.
Wolf spiders that look like tarantulas.
No, just like wolf spiders, they're just, I mean, they're harmless, they're, they just live in the woods and that, but, they're furry little bastards and I don't like them,
Yeah. Let me tell you, there's always, how like there's, I don't know if I've ever told this story on pod. So, like you see this argument all the time about how the difference between men and women, like women in combat, and like women are not as strong as men. Their bones are not as thick as men's, and all this other kinds of things, which is all cool. But what they'll do is it never fails. They'll find some like hardcore lesbian girl that doesn't have a neck, and they'll put her like as a cannon cocker, and she's throwing around like artillery shells, and like she can lift the weight and she can do all this stuff, and they're like women can do just as much as men, and it's like because in the grand in the scale of men and women, on the women's scale, she's at the top. She's a statistical anomaly at the end.
Yeah.
And, and it's like, that's not real. That's not real. When I was a kid, I used to be really big into we go into creeks and catch crawdads. And I swear to God, there was a time we picked up this big rock that probably hadn't been moved in 40 years. And we found a crawdad that was as big as a lobster.
Damn.
And we took it home. Like we took it home and put it in a tank. Like we were dumb. We were so young. Like I filled a big old fish tank full of water and just threw it in there because it didn't have any, I didn't understand that you had to re-oxygenate the water. So it didn't last but like a day or two. But, when you think about, I always wonder like how many lobster in the creek lobster world, there's always a creek lobster out there. And I wonder, at the farm, like on the John 1911 range, is there some giant ass spider that you just haven't seen yet that's out there that could, like, I don't know, kick your ass, like knock your rifle over, like you're laying out there prone, and like, what the fuck was that?
Well, actually, there might have been until the bulldozer got there.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
I don't miss those spiders. It's weird. Like we don't have the spiders at the John 1911 range, but this place did. They're over 100 miles away. They're closer to 200, but yeah, man, they had their summer spiders it was crazy. It was like something out of a movie. A guy be shooting a drill, starts hopping around, like and like especially like because the dude, they always wear like these 5'11" light tan pants, and I think that just attracts the fucking spiders. And so you'd see like a big ass spider on his ass from like 25 yards away, and be like, "Hey Ray, fucking go hit him in the leg. Fucking don't just do it first because he may jump and shoot somebody with the fucking spider on his fucking leg."
Well, I mean, it's crazy because these wolf spiders are harmless spiders, but they just look nasty, and some of them get pretty damn big.
Yeah, they look like tarantulas. I mean, they're not. I mean, like the biggest, like the no neck lesbian wolf spider that's out there somewhere will have to be as big as a tarantula. You know what I mean? Like there'll be one out there. You'll be like, God damn.
Well, let me. God, I shouldn't even tell this publicly, but this was going back 25 years ago, maybe, every bit of 25 years ago. So I'm working and I'm moving some boxes, and these boxes are about 30 pounds a piece. They weigh about 25, 30 pounds. And I look over, and there's the biggest, hairiest damn wolf spider I've ever seen. This thing's like extra fucking hairy. And I'm like,
was it wearing a flannel shirt and want to talk to you about Ellen?
No. But I'll tell you why it was extra hairy in a minute. So I'm thinking, and I don't like spiders. And I'm thinking, well, I'm going to crush this fucking spider with this box. So instead of just walking over to the spider and dropping it, because the spider's on a concrete pad, I'm like, 3 feet away from it with the box. And I'm going to throw the box onto the spider because, well, that's the kind of girl I am, So I throw the box and it fucking misses the spider. Well, when it bounced off the concrete, the reason it was hairy is because apparently wolf spiders carry their babies on their back, and 100 of these fucking bastards flew off this mama spider, and half of them landed on my legs, and I'm running across the parking lot screaming like a girl. Yeah.
Oh my God.
That was my reaction. And one of my employees at the time opened the freaking door to the building and goes, "What the hell are you doing?" And I'm like, immediately I'm like, nothing, because I realized that I was being, just, a bitch
Yeah.
over a spider, It's,
Well, you know
it's
how like
like, oh my
they always
God.
have like
But yeah,
the Spider-Man movies, and it's always like the origin story. There'll be like a spider in a lab and like some glowing green shit that's radioactive. And I'm like, well, if they were really serious, what they ought to do is they ought to have a wolf spider walking around a Rogaine factory, and like there's a Rogaine leak, and then the wolf spider. That would be more believable. And it turns into the
no shit.
Chewbacca spider, and you're just
Wow.
like, my brain just fucking goes in circles. So we've been going for a little while, and this is going to be a fast one. Danny's not available today because he's traveling with his wife, and we tried to get him in. So I wanted to. I'm gonna, normally I like to end a podcast with a crime note, but I'm gonna, since we're a little short today, I'm gonna give everybody 3 crime notes. Because I'm going to give everybody the local crime story, and then I'm going to give them the runner-up, and then I'm going to give them the story that won the piece de resistance for this episode. So the local crime story, apparently last night, local PD pulls over a cop car, or pulls over a subject, looks like a male in his 20s. I'm not sure why he initiated the stop. They haven't really said, but they pull the car over. Car pulls over. And I think they're on an overpass. It's not really clear. But what they said happened was the guy immediately hopped out of his car, jumped off the overpass or over an embankment, and they said landed on a moving train and then got away. But then to make it worse, the cop's like, what the fuck? And then he looks in the car, and there's a baby in the car. Yeah, that's last night. And so I don't know if they've identified who the baby is yet, or they haven't released any information. But if you see a hobo on a train, look at crying because he doesn't have his baby, that's probably what's going on. So that's my local bonus. Now let me give you my my runner-up story. So there's a police blotter story out of Texas, and it says, father 78, or it says a son arrested for pushing father age 78 off cliff. And it's like, well, that's going to be bad. And it's like, well, God, I wonder how old the son is. And the son's like our age, late 40s, early 50s, whatever that is. And, you're like, oh, I just was reading it real quick. And actually and what happened was, because you're reading the story, and then it says, the father says, yeah, he pushed me off a cliff, and this, and you're reading it, and you're like, holy shit, the father's alive. 78-year-old man, he's alive. And I was like, yeah, kudos for him. So I guess the lesson of the story is don't give up on 78-year-old men. They can survive falling off a cliff. So, but the story that won the police blotter of the episode. Do you remember how we used to always joke, especially when I was working? We used to always joke about samurai swords and trailers. Yeah. Like one of the jokes is
this is about a samurai sword.
Oh my God, it gets even better. So one of the jokes is like, because I've been in a lot of meth trailers, and so there's always a samurai sword. It got to the point that I would even warn people, be like, hey, there's a fucking weapon in this room because there's going to be at least a samurai sword in here. And like, there would always be a fucking samurai sword, and it was just a weird white trash people buy samurai swords. It's just the thing. They just buy, they always overpay.
Yeah.
It's some crap made in China. They spent big money on because.
Oh yeah. It's not a real samurai sword. It's some knockoff junk.
So I'm sure whatever PD this was out of, they've noticed the same phenomenon. So they hit a trailer, and obviously it's for meth. It's always a meth trailer, and they pull this. They're listing this, like weapons and meth, and there were children and all this other kind of stuff in this trailer, and they have an itemized list. Dude, there is a sword in this trailer that looks like kind of like some kind of fantasy kind of I don't know, Conan the Barbarian type, two-handed giant European Scottish claymore looking thing, but then drilled into it and mounted on it are spikes. So it's a sword with these giant spikes come out of it. And so the police department having a sense of humor, they named it. They said they were proud to announce that they have recovered the ancient sword of the Meth King.
Oh my God, that's amazing!
Meth trailers,
the Meth King sword.
Meth trailers and white trash people with their shitty samurai swords, you would never get that joke. But dude, this is awesome,
dude.
So
the sword of the Meth King. That is awesome.
So, like I don't know. Do you pull the sword out of a big white powdery rock, or I don't know, like. some toothless boy is like, I'm the king. You're just like, oh my God. Yeah, the ancient sword of the Meth King. It's something that I've been.
That's amazing. I love that.
Week, and I'm like, yep, that will be in the fucking podcast, the ancient sword of the Meth King. So, well, this wraps up episode.
That's great.
165 of the John 1911 podcast. If this is the last episode of the John 1911 podcast because of the great coronavirus Hunan province racist plague, please leave a comment on the website for archaeologists in the future. And remember, it's all about shooting guns and having fun. Everybody, have a good day.